Here with Dustin Milligan. Now, I got to tell you, I have to ask you one 90210 question. I was a big 90210 fan.
Yeah,
yes.
open with that.
Yeah, we got to start right with it. So what happened? Why was it a personal decision to leave?
I mean, I certainly loved being on that show. It was such a cool experience, kind of my first foray into the public eye. But I really, I think by the end of the first season, it wasn't quite, I think, everything that I was hoping. And as well, in talking with the new showrunner at that time, we had sort of been chatting a little bit about the character and where it was going and what the future was for it, and we kind of, figured that it probably wasn't going to go on for season 2, so that was what happened there. Kind of just one of those businessy things, But that being said, like looking back, I really enjoyed my time on that show.
Let's talk about the new project now. We are here to talk a little bit about X Company. Can you set up the show for me? What can people expect when they tune in for the first time?
So X Company follows the first group of spies during World War II, and they were trained in Whitby, Ontario, very close to where we are right now. Right, it's just over there somewhere, right there, or just there, and they were, they were trained in this Canadian facility, and it was really just developing modern espionage and modern spycraft. So the show itself follows the first team as they are sent behind enemy lines in German-occupied France in World War II. And I think in 1943 we started. 1942?
I think it's 42.
42? I think it is 42. Okay, thank you. Sorry, thank you. And so it just follows them as they are sort of thrust into this nightmare for all intents and purposes. It's just really this terrible place to be in, as one could imagine. And we follow them as they are figuring out how to be spies, what it means to be a spy in at that time, like the modern era, and really just each of them individually, I think, exploring and discovering, how the war is actually affecting them and what it's actually doing to them, as well as the people that they're trying to help in France at that time and all over Europe. But as well, it really explores, I just think, the reality of war and how like a real person would act and behave and deal with war, which I think is something that, even though we see so much of it on TV, it's still something that fascinates me, and I hope that audiences are as interested in it as I am, because it's wild. It's so wild, the things that we put ourselves through, in order to fight the good fight.
And your character, Tom, can you elaborate a little bit on him?
Yeah, I play Tom Cummings, so he is the token American in the group, and he comes from sort of a Madison Avenue advertising background, loosely based on a real person who I think uses his skills in understanding people and manipulation and persuasion to get what he wants out of any situation that he wants. And what I really identify with Tom about it is the fact that he doesn't want to kill people. And I think that's something, if I had to go to war, I wouldn't want to kill anybody. And actually, apparently, statistically, it's pretty high, or at least it was in World War II. It was like something like 70% of the people that were like in battle would be aiming high or aiming left when they saw someone down their sights. They're not actually trying to kill people, because it's like, you want to win the war, but how high does the death toll have to be? So that's Tom.
And is that a difference between the other members of the team? I know Neil is all about like kill first, think second. And does that cause any tension? Because I hear that like Tom is actually going to put the team at risk because of these ethics.
Yeah, no, and it's something that inevitably has to compromise the team and some of the missions, is because that's just the reality of war, is that people do have to die. Whether or not we have to go to war, who knows? But during war, like, that's what happens. People have to die, and I think again, for the greater good. I think Tom definitely, he wants to resist that for as long as possible. But Neil, on the other side, he's been through a lot in his life by the time we meet him on the show, and he definitely has no hesitation about killing whatsoever. And it does cause some conflict between Tom and Neil as a result. Him being sort of the brute and Tom being sort of the Renaissance man. Very, very different personalities, very, very different backgrounds. But hopefully they become friends at the end.
Would you say the show is more about the missions, the covert operations, or about the relationships amongst the team members?
I mean, I think that's what's great about what Mark and Stephanie, the show's creators, have been able to do is weave those two things together. So yes, it is about the missions. It's very, very much about the missions and just sort of the action involved, the strategy, the tension that follows. And then you understand the characters and they develop as well as the missions go on. We only have 8 episodes in the first season, so what was great about that is we had 3 months to shoot all 8 episodes, so we did get a chance to do a little bit more character development than I think you usually would. So I hope that audiences can really appreciate that it's not just, you know, a wartime period action, drama, adventure show, but also that there is some real character and some real, I think, some humanity in it as well.
Is there a little bit of an irony with a Canadian playing an American on a Canadian show?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny.
Like no accent, you know, did you have to work on your American?
You know what I will say is that I actually, because we have a Brit on the show who is doing a Canadian voice. Jack Lasky is doing a great Canadian accent. And then Evelyn as well, though she has, you know, she obviously is Canadian, but had to sort of work a little bit on her accent and bringing it back a little bit. But that made me more hyper aware of my own accent. I usually don't get anybody saying like, "Oh, you're Canadian," but in the last couple of years, I've started saying "a" lot more. Yeah. I even like sign my emails like, "All right, thanks, A," and like I do that a lot more. I don't know what it is about it, but because certainly when I was working. When I first started working in LA and even in Vancouver when I first started, like I had to hammer out my hard northern Yellowknife accent. Yeah. Like it was like real thick. I talked very differently than I do now. But I was very hyper aware of it on this show just because, again, he's got to be American. He's got to be American. So you can't let any oats and abouts or any of that stuff out.
Slip. Yeah. And finally, why should people tune in?
You know, I think people should tune into X Company because it is a new kind of war drama, and I think it's a beautiful show to watch. It's the costumes are beautiful, the sets are beautiful, the shots are beautiful. We have so many beautiful shots, and then as well, like the drama, the tension, as I mentioned, the action. It really is a show that I think. I mean, I know that everyone says this in interviews, but it really is a show that I think everyone can get something from, as well as the fact that, you know, Canadians should be proud of Camp X being in Canada, and this is something that really started a whole new movement for espionage for the whole world, and we did it here first.
Amazing. Dustin, thank you so much. Let's say hello to Shenae because she's going to see this.
Hi,
hello.
Shenae.
Crazy, right? Together. Awesome.